Listen to the 48 Hours podcast for shocking murder cases and compelling real-life dramas from one of television's most watched true crime shows. Go behind the scenes of each episode with award-winning CBS News correspondents and producers in Postmortem, a weekly deep dive. Listen to 48 Hours wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Barenaked, 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 ABCs.
Welcome to the Barenaked ABCs, where it is Christmas all year round because we discuss the Barenaked Ladies songs alphabetically, which, you know, some people wish that it could be Christmas every single day. Well, here
we get to live that.
Exactly. It is totally possible for us to have Christmas any day of the week, because this week we're returning to explore Christmas again as we discuss friggin' Christmas. No. Fragging Christmas. No.
Creeggan Christmas.
Cragging Christmas.
Creeggan Christmas. Are you having a problem with your autocorrect, Tracy?
I'm having a massive problem with my autocorrect today for some reason. We're talking about, sorry, Andy and Jim, Creeggan Christmas.
Creeggan Christmas. It's all about origami.
Oh, for creaking out loud.
Creaking out loud.
That's going to be my new swear term whenever I'm around the kids. Oh, you got to be creaking kidding me. My autocorrect, every time I was talking about today's episode, would try to recorrect it to like Creeggan or Kraken or...
We're talking about the Creeggan Christmas. Yes, that year when the sea monster rised up from the bottom of the deep, briny sea.
Welcome to the Kraken! For those of you who have never heard this song before, here's a brief snippet of tonight's song.
Shopping around Scarborough Mall that Christmas, trying to get my family gifts straight. A mug for mom, mug for dad, that's all. Oh well, it's not the mug, it's what you put inside that makes it great.
So, we are covering this song because it was actually put out on an actual recording that can be reached. It was on Barenaked Christmas 1991, which was the fan club. It was before they started releasing the ladies' rooms.
This is what the
CDs.
Kids call a deep cut.
Oh, a very deep cut. Like, you have to be a fan of you had to be on the Barenaked Ladies fan club in 1991 to get a copy of this CD. Like, when they were just starting out. Before they released Gordon, just after they started releasing the yellow tape, you had to have been a fan of the club at that point. I will be adding a link in our notes for today for you to get a hold of this. And it's also on there with the very early version of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and We Three Kings combination, which is really interesting. There is an alternative version. I sent you guys the alternative version of this.
Shopping around Scarborough Mall in the midday, trying to find some shoes that'll fit straight. Ones that'll fast, ones that'll last, cause they got to be tough. But it's not the shoes, it's the soul that's inside that makes them great.
The Creeggan Brothers, in 1994, rewrote this and did a revision for their first self-titled album, which is a very jazz, funk, pop type sound. They call it themselves spazz, which I think is really interesting. I find it to be kind of a lounge, jazz, funk, pop type feel.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about the original version. The original version is is very, I don't know how you would label it, Aaron, but I want to say it's, I think that a bluesy, jazzy, soft jazz type sound is kind of what they're going
Definitely
with here.
jazz blues, yeah. Very much so. Well, do you want to break it down?
Well, we'll come to the breakdown in a minute, but then the alternative version that they released later.
Was that the shopping for shoes?
They changed it to shopping for shoes, so it's no longer a Christmas song, and there's a lot more to it. It has a faster beat. There's a different type of drum they're using in there. I'm not quite sure what it is, because...
That was the Brothers Creeggan, right?
Yes.
Right.
There's a very different bridge to it. There's a different amount of scatting that they do in it, in the middle. And we'll get to it more, but Andy and Jim are basically, they're playing everything. So Andy plays the piano, percussion, accordion, dulcimer, and steel pan, while Jim is doing the bass, the guitar, the percussion, the tap dancing, and the piano. So it's a very interesting kind of mix for the two of them. I'm betting that no one else has ever discussed this song in the amount of length that we're going to tonight. So, Aaron, let's break it down.
All right, let's do it.
Aaron's Hot Take!
Okay, so this is not going to be the typical breakdown. I will provide as much as I can, but it's very much a free-form jazz odyssey. So,
oh my god, that's the perfect description of this song.
There we go. Okay, that was good. Thank you.
Fastest breakdown ever. No, Creeggan Christmas is approximately rushes along at 180 beats per minute. It does rush and drag quite a bit. It's very loose. The whole feel is very loose. Very jazzy feel. It's essentially a jazz blues jam. The key is A, but it's played in the A blues scale. That's A, C, D, E flat, E, G, then back up to A. The blues scale is interesting for a couple of reasons. Unlike a typical major scale, so to stick with A, that would be A major is A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, then back to A. So not counting the octave, you have A to G, and that's 7 scale degrees. So most typical Western scales, be they major, minor, or whatever, and no matter what mode you're in, will have 7 degrees. That's why when we talk about, when I say like 1, 4, 5, etc., that's the degrees of the scale, so... for instance, with a C scale, C is the first degree or the tonic, F is the 4th degree, G is the 5th degree. So 1, 4, 5 would be C, F, G. So that's what we talk about when we talk about, the degrees. So a typical Western scale, again, be it major, minor, or whatever, will have 7 degrees or 7 notes or 7 tones. A blues scale only...
Depending on which degree of bacon you go with.
Correct. But always... oh, man. I can't even do it. Kevin Bacon.
I threw you off.
Kevin Bacon, one of Earth's mightiest heroes. Anyways, so yeah, you typically have 7 degrees or 7 tones. In a blues scale, you have 6. You have 1 less degree or 1 fewer degree, depending on who you ask. Man, I'm in a rare mood tonight. Sorry, guys, I'm sick. So the A blues again is A, C, D, E sharp, E, natural, G. You have 1 less degree in your scale, but also what makes the blues scale unusual is you have 3 adjacent chromatic notes. So a standard major scale can be built, for instance, by starting at your desired tonic, and then moving up a whole step, another whole step, a half step, 3 more whole steps, and then a half step. So whole, half, whole, half. No matter where you start, you just choose a note, and if you use that formula, you will build yourself a major scale. It will always work. Even in a minor scale, you wouldn't see 3 steps moving up or down chromatically by a half step all next to each other, right? Because that means you have, if you think about like a piano keyboard, that would be like 3 notes, including the black notes, the black keys, 3 notes that are just all right next to each other. Typically that doesn't happen. You want a little more space between your notes because in a Western classical tradition, typically in a harmonic sense, this would lead to a lot of dissonance, which is something that traditional Western music theory tries to avoid. However, the blue note, and what defines the blues scale as being that bluesy sound that we all think, this is the flat 5th, which is what makes the blues scale sound so bluesy. It's also known as the tritone or the so-called devil's interval, so-called because it bisects the scale in half exactly. So playing the tonic, the tritone, and then the octave allows you to span the scale in 3 equidistant points. It's mathematically harmonious. It's a palindrome. But it is a very, very tense interval and it demands resolution.
Is it what gives it that kind of dissonant type feel to it?
Yeah, when you hear that, when you're laying on the when you're laying really hard on those notes, that gives it a distinctive feel. That is usually the flat fifth they're laying on, and it really does give it a very distinctive sound. I personally adore it. I think it's a great tone. It's a great interval. It's a really interesting way to build tension and then resolve. And the really cool thing about the blues scale, which is really pretty much just a minor pentatonic or 5-note scale with a flat fifth added to it, it's excellent for improvisation. If you learn just the appropriate blues scale for the section of the song you're improvising over, so if someone says to you, like if you just learn, blues scales are pretty easy, and they're easy to build because, again, it's that same kind of formula. So if you know how to build a blues scale, and someone says to you, we're playing in the key of whatever, I want you to improvise. If you know how to make a blues scale for that key signature, you can just go and forever and ever go, and it will always sound correct. It'll always sound bluesy, which hopefully you're improvising in a song that's okay to sound bluesy, and otherwise that might sound a little weird. But it will always sound correct. It will never sound wrong. It will just sound bluesy. So you can just play the scale and just go pick the random notes from the scale. A lot of times, if you're improvising in a very precise scale to more of a, not blues, but jazz, more complex, with sevenths and stuff like that, you have to be very precise. And if you just kind of pick random notes from it, it will sound a little weird, as you might expect. If you just picked random notes from a blues scale and had a computer randomly generate them and play them out of the solo, it would probably still sound great. Blues is awesome. You can just kind of go on autopilot and just spit out all kinds of stuff. So that's a lesson to you out there if you want to impress your girlfriend's parents or whatever. Learn a blues scale on a piano and just play a bass line with your left hand and play something infinitely with your right hand, and you'll just immediately sound like a prodigy and sound awesome. Not in any way saying that blues is not in a disparaging sense. I think simplicity can be quite beautiful. Hence why I love the Beatles and stuff like that.
Blues is user-friendly. Blues, it's
user-friendly.
It allows you to get right to the heart of things.
Shall we say easy to learn, difficult to master? How about that? Because the best blues musicians know how to use space and know how to use that simplicity to create this kind of negative space and to really make the notes count. So someone like, I'm a big fan of Pink Floyd. David Gilmour is one of my favorite guitarists of all time. Also, Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits, wonderful guitarist. And they both can kind of shred when they want to, but a lot of times they'll use space and keep things very simplistic, and they know how to use blues to their advantage to be very expressive and make the guitar sing. So, again, if you're a blues musician out there, I'm not saying, oh, it's easy, anyone can do it. I'm just saying it's easy to start. Right? But then mastering it is being able to do it articulately.
Blues doesn't want you to get stuck in your head. Blues wants you to feel it and express it. And so that's where it goes.
Yeah, blues is about the feeling.
Exactly.
Blues is a very intuitive.
Well, exactly.
It's a very intuitive and emotive. If you think about blues, it's about expressing your pain and throwing it out into the world. So I love it.
And that takes
yeah,
skill.
it does.
It does. Interesting that they would choose that for a Christmas song.
Well, because
about buying presents.
Blues, okay, I said it. Blues is in traditional blues. It came out of He Let Me Bare My Soul. But this kind of jazzy, bouncy blues is a little more fun, definitely.
Yes.
So there's this walking bass line, and typically you hear that a lot in jazz blues stuff, and you hear the bass just kind of going, right, and it's just sort of bouncing along. Usually every quarter note gets a bass beat, which can be quite, especially in an up-tempo song like this, can make it really move along, and if you feel this pulse, right, that's where the energy is coming from. And in fact, I think the song gets most of its energy from the bass line. Since the drums are in and out, the percussion varies in density. Sometimes it's just hand claps or bongos. So the bass is really what's driving the song and really what's giving it its energy. What's funny here? I immediately thought of Jazz Odyssey from This Is Spinal Tap. Right, we're not going to perform a freeform jazz exploration on stage, right? On the bass, Derek Smalls, he wrote this, right? So I immediately just thought about that, which is hilarious because Jim is the bass player and he did write this. Yep. He wrote the freeform Jazz Odyssey. So I don't know when this song came out or when Spinal Tap came out or whether that was in any way related, but it's kind of, if not, it's a really, really interesting piece of synchronicity there. But yeah, ultimately, the whole song has this very playful feel to it. It was amusing to listen to, but ultimately not a song which left me awestruck or yearning for more. If I saw BNL live and it was near Christmas time, I would probably appreciate hearing them goof around and improvise over this jazzy blues jam. But ultimately, I don't think it's much to write a Christmas card home about.
So what did you think about the revision, about the alternate version that Jim and Andy did later on?
I don't know. I think, as you say, maybe it's a little more appropriate. You know what I mean? They certainly seem to have fleshed it out a bit more. It's more developed in that later incarnation. And as you say, I don't think there's anything wrong with the Christmas blues song, but I don't know. It feels like maybe it's a little more appropriately used there.
And then there's not a lot of Ed or Steven on this song.
Yeah.
Even then. So I almost get the feeling that this might have been something that Jim and Andy were kind of playing around with before they came to the band, the two of them together.
Or my thought was, a lot of times if you've been in a band and you've recorded in a studio or you've heard these stories of bands, the non-smokers in the band, right? The guitarist and the keyboard player, whatever, go out and have a smoke. And the vocalist and the bass player are in there and they're going like, oh, let's just play around. They're doing something. And the guys come back in like, hey, what was that? Oh, we were just messing around. No, let's record it. So like it could have been something like that too at the same time.
Yeah. It does feel very unflushed out. It feels
very
it's just
much a fun little ditty, right? You know, that's the way I look at it.
Which is why they release it for their fans as a Christmas
I think that was
little
appropriate.
pick, you know. No pun intended around the Christmas pick thing. Michelle, what are your thoughts on this song?
I really like the Christmas version of it. It's very Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Jim's songs have a very specific sound, and this definitely has it. Like, I love the jazzy feel of it. I love how concise the lyrics are.
Yeah.
Or is that the spider in my room?
Yes.
And then it ends with a mad cow. Like, his songs are always like there's not this 15 repeats of the chorus. It's here's the verse, here's the chorus, here's an interesting thing, the end.
Yep.
And it's just always really cool and interesting and very unique. And it doesn't sound like anything else that the Barenaked Ladies do, but I do love it. And it's fun.
We don't have any declaration anywhere on the web, anywhere, of who wrote this. I looked everywhere to try to find out who wrote this. But given the words that are in this song, I think Andy wrote this one.
Yeah, I can see that.
Of course.
Jim's going to buy me some new pants for Christmas, and in return, I'm going to buy him some new socks, and he's going to be real happy. Which I laugh so hard at.
And it has that feel that goes with Andy. Like, Andy writes these
It's a very
lyrics.
stream of consciousness kind of, you know what I mean? It kind of matched with, I love the bongos, right? Because that's all like the beatniks or whatever. It felt very much like, it's like, it's like a poor man's Kerouac, you know what I mean? It's just, I like it.
It's a poetry night.
Yeah. I don't know how, I mean, the funny thing is, I think the thing that I like most about this is that I can't tell, like, obviously the tongue is firmly in the cheek in this.
Oh,
but I can't.
But it's also kind of an ordinary day of them trying to Christmas shop.
I can't tell how firmly in the cheek the tongue is. I feel like it's very Canadian, right? You know, it's got that. It's got that Canadian kind of like.
It's almost more of a day in the life than tongue in cheek.
I feel like Canadians have this like, they're famous for like being passive aggressive. I feel like Canadians have this sort of casual nihilism about them. You know what I mean? It's just like it's what makes them so funny. Some of the best comedians I know are Canadian, and I think
the kids in the hall.
I think that it's just like it's just something in the culture. I don't know. I think they feel like America's little brother sometimes. It's like, oh, you guys fought the British, and we were like, nah. You know? I don't know if that's what it is or what, but like, I think they feel like, you know, America's so loud and big and like boisterous, and we're so attention seeking.
And now they're washing their hands of us. They're like,
I feel like
we're all set with you guys.
Now that I think about it, because I have that Canadian influence in my family, so I kind of straddle the line. But as a middle child, I feel maybe a little bit more connected to America because I'm just like always striving for attention. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the Canadians are the ones who are starved for attention because America's always the biggest and the loudest. So maybe that's my older brother there. I don't know. but like
hashtag love you, Chris.
We know you listen. Chris, come on the show. Yeah, or any Canadian comedian. Rick Moranis, please come on the show.
Oh, we'd love
Scott
to have
Thompson, we know you
Oh
listen.
my God,
We would
Scott
love
Thompson.
to have
Any
you
of the
come
kids
on.
in the hall, please.
Any
Dave
kids
Foley.
Bruce McCullough,
Oh,
get your
Bruce.
ass on here.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. But anyways,
I love how like down to earth these lyrics are, and how he's just very like relaxed with it. Like a mug for mom, a mug for. He's like, so I'm shopping around trying to get gifts.
This is a last minute gift.
A mug for mom, a mug for dad.
This is basically I'm at Walmart at Christmas Eve, 10 p.m. Oh shit!
Yes.
I have to make sure I get something for everybody. These mugs are on sale 2 for 1. I'll just grab 1 for mom, 1 for dad. You know what? It's what I put in the mugs that makes it special. So I'll put dad's favorite, dad's favorite vodka in the little tiny bottle inside here, and I'll put mom's favorite chocolate in
the
there.
nips.
Yeah. So
He's like, Jim buys me some pants. I'm going to buy him some socks.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Again, with the weird passive aggressive.
Again with the socks for Christmas. Like there's got to be some kind of Canadian thing about socks for Christmas.
Is that not an American thing?
It's cold.
Maybe it's because my mom's side of the family is Canadian. I always get socks for Christmas, like without fail.
Yeah.
I'm
We
a
get
36-year-old man. This Christmas got socks for Christmas. I basically barely buy socks. The only time I buy socks is if there's
from your brother.
Not from my brother, but I guarantee at some point that's going to happen.
Socks are happening somewhere along the. And you know what? I finally get to the age where I'm friggin' psyched. About, like socks are what I'm looking forward to.
I am now. I think that I've reached a point in my life where I've become pragmatic enough that now I get the socks and I'm thinking, oh great, now I don't have to spend money on socks. So it's a gift of financial freedom. So I appreciate it, Mom and Dad.
Here it is.
I gotta say that on the rewrite, I like the rewrite though. I like the music with the rewrite, but I like the lyrics that they put in. So one of my favorite lines that they rewrote, and I get that it was a Christmas time kind of rewrite, but I really like it. So they're shopping around for socks at midday.
Yeah.
Instead of shopping on Christmas Day itself. But I like, it's not the shoes, it's the sole that you put inside them that's great. Like, nice little pun there, Andy or Jim, whichever one wrote that. And at the same time, like,
Get
the
it?
whole point.
Sole. You know somebody was giving the elbow to the other person.
I appreciate a really good pun, though.
Shoe. Yeah, that's right up your alley, Tracy. That is definitely...
But it's also really deep in that it's like it's not about the gift, it's the soul that you have, you know. It's you got to go deeper than just the appearance, and I like that kind of secondhand kind of statement that he's making there. I do love the pun too, though.
Indeed.
And I also like how they changed it up and they made it a little bit more, like they did a lot more with it, like, gotta run back to the store because I gotta find the shoes that won't hurt me. Like he's definitely having some fun with rewriting this song. He's like, how much more can I put in here?
I thought it was funny that they chose to rewrite it.
Yeah.
Well, I think what happened was probably the brothers Creeggan.
They're interesting and unique, and I don't want to say eccentric, but...
Well, I feel like maybe they thought, like, hey, remember that little ditty, that Christmas song we did? There was really something there, and I feel like I wish that had been released in a more widespread manner. Well, hey, why don't we ask the guys if they mind us kind of rewriting it and making it our own? And, you know, B&L being the pretty chill dudes they are, I imagine they said, yeah, that's fine. They went ahead and did it. And it was a new song and a new take on it, and I like both the versions, honestly.
They're very different from each other. They're almost separate songs in many ways, with different titles to the song, so they're almost not the same.
And yet, they are.
How poetic.
It's the NyQuil talking.
So the only thing...
I was robo-tripping so hard last night.
Oh my God.
So much Robitussin.
I love the bongos in the song. Brings me back to Andy and what I miss about Andy being in the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is kind of the master bongo guy.
The
only thing,
Andy, we love you. Come
we know you
on
listen.
the show and give us a bongo
Please
tutorial.
the only thing I didn't like about this song, well, the major thing I did not like about this song, I should say, that, let me cut that. The only thing I didn't like about this song, and they fixed it on the second version, was the scatting. I felt that I really feel that a lot of this song was just like, we're going to throw this together real quick. We're just playing around with it. And like you said, Aaron, maybe the other guys were out and then they were playing around and then they came back in. They said, let's record this. Let's use this for our Christmas, for our fans. But they didn't have time to really kind of master it. I felt like the scatting was that in the first version versus the second version. Like it was much better scatting.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think overall the second version was much more polished, you know. But, I mean, there's something, what's the word? I don't want to be hipster and say, it's not like it's more authentic or anything. But there's
I was going to use the word authentic.
I don't even know if it is more authentic, but there's something charming about the lo-fi-ness of this version.
Well, it goes along with what it is intended to be,
right.
Which is just this
just
like
nice
around. Little throw out for the fans. You know, and that's what a lot of those fan songs are on those albums that we're going to cover in the future, is just this like, hey, here's a nice little throw out. You're not going to find this anywhere else. So kind of enjoy this extra for being a big fan of ours. So why don't we throw that over to you and you can take over Santa's bag and decide how we parse out the presents.
Yes. So for ratings, you know what I just realized? I didn't have a topic. Let's do mugs.
How many mugs
are we going to give this? I went back and forth. I'm sorry. I'm like Peter Brady and It's Time to Change. Got to rearrange who you are and where you want to be.
Most of our cast is getting over a really bad virus right now, so we're just trying to muster through because we have none in the bag at this point. So excuse everyone.
So I went back and forth with my scoring because at first I was like, but it's so unique and so Creeggan sounding and it's such a treat. So I ended up giving it 3.75 mugs.
Okay.
Aaron, how about you? How many mugs do you give this song?
Well, I really had to kind of think hard on this one. It's difficult because, I certainly don't like it as much as I like stuff like, say, like Angry People at a 3.6. I don't like it as much as I like. There was a 3.5 I was comparing it to. Maybe was it Adrift? No, I don't know. Maybe it's the cold medicine talking. I'm not sure. I lost my. Oh, you know what? I was looking at Bad Day. And I rated Bad Day lower than you guys, so I was the party pooper on that one. I rated it at 3.3. And I like this song about as much as I like Bad Day. I like this song also about as much as I like Canada Dry, which is a song that I do like. Those are both songs that I like, and I like this song, but it's not like one of my all-time favorites. It's not one I'm going to be reaching for, often. So, yeah, I had to give Creeggan Christmas a 3.3 mugs out of 5, which is very solid. Very solid.
Perfect. Okay, Tracy, it's all up to you.
All right, so I'm going to be the hater this week.
That's the problem, deal with angry people. They try to go it alone. Digging in and making cranky feeble pleas that other angry disown.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Shyamalan.
So shocked.
Yeah. So as a rarity, as a fan CD rarity, I love this. Okay. So as this nice little thing to kind of listen to, I would love to have this kind of in my closet. I wish I actually had a real copy of this because it's a nice little have. But as a song, as something that I would listen to on a regular basis, it's not up there. I would never want this on a major release. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't want it on one of the major albums. However, the rewrite it definitely has a much higher value. So I'm going to say that in advance. So my score for the original release is a 2.5, right in the mid. If this were going with the Brothers Creeggan version, it would be a 3.5 for me. So I have to put in the 2.5 because that's the original version of it.
Interesting. So that gives a total of 3.18.
But Jim and Andy, I really love what you did with it when you rewrote it.
Yeah. So that it puts it just above Bag of Bones and just below Crazy.
That seems about right to me, though.
As a nice extra, that's about the right spot.
Honestly, I like it because it's clever and interesting and unusual. I don't know that I would go back to search it out or listen to it, but if it's on, it's like a nice treat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I agree. It's a nice one to just kind of come back to every now and then as a Christmas little special. I'll have it on my Christmas song list just to listen to once a Christmas and go over.
And that seems about right. Like, that's a nice once a year, like, oh yeah, this song. And then you can put it away for the year.
Exactly.
Honestly, yeah.
You know?
That feels about right.
Yeah.
Tracy, what do we got?
All right.
2 minutes.
This week, real quick, because I know Aaron's going to get going. We're going back to the Christmas time, and this year at Christmas, Ed did a nice little appearance on a episode of Jam or Not a Jam, where they went over Christmas carols and talked with whether they thought it was a jam or not a jam with another lady. I can't remember what her name is now. But it's really funny to kind of listen to them go through all these different Christmas songs, especially the pop Christmas songs, and talk about whether or not they think it's a great song or a really bad song. So go out there. I'll have that in the liner notes, and it's a lot of fun. Listen to us and rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Please go over to iTunes and give us a rating. 5 stars would be great. And also put some words in there. We only have 2 explanations of why people do or do not like the show. So please go out there and do that. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, and bowlingstormtrooperentertainment.com. Join us for all of that. And, do you guys want to know what we're going to be covering next week?
Sure, what is it?
Are you really interested?
Yes,
maybe.
I am really interested.
I'm kind of interested.
0 to 10, how interested are you?
I'm losing interest by the minute. I'm curious.
Oh, you're curious. Okay, good. Because we're covering Curious next week.
There it is.
So join us next week as we return back to snack time and discuss why curiosity killed the cat.
All right, well, hey. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets, except maybe one.
I guess I've reached the point in my life where I'm pragmatic enough to be like, oh, now I don't have to pay money. Bleh! Let's just cut this whole thing out and pretend that I don't exist.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.